work that's available there. And so some projects will be below or less the estimates that they've provided on those sheets. So in some cases, they may have overpaid or underpaid. There's a reconciliation phase once you complete and close out all the projects, in which they take a look, check to make sure you follow the scope of the work, determine that you did, and that in some cases, while you may on project A have been under by, $500 on the estimate, but project B you are over $500 on the estimate, their estimate and their reimbursement, their initial payment, those two will wash out. So they don't handle it individually on a case-by-case project. They look at the total overall amount that they've given out, make sure that you follow the scope, and then we'll either request that you give money back if you underspent on the projects, or we'll provide you another reimbursement for the money that might have been spent over, as long as you followed the scope of work. Thank you.
Go ahead, Councilmember Landis.
I have one detailed question about the Observatory Park again. The buildings are being repaired for what purpose? Have they been used? Will they be used for something like offices, or it's a house, right? Isn't it a house building, a house-shaped building?
Yes, it was a residence.
Yeah.
There's a house at the site, and then there's an office, there's a number of smaller buildings that are considered the historical buildings on the site. The house, I believe, also has some historical significance, but not as much as the other facilities, the actual observatory and the office itself. And we have a fund in which we allocated funds in a reserve account that we've been drawing down some from to replace, like the roof, which wasn't a FEMA project, but was a project in which council approved to move forward to make sure we get a roof on and make it watertight. So our only goal at this point is to make sure that those buildings are watertight and in good condition. They haven't been remodeled or in any type of use actually designated for those. Although the property was given to us by NOAA for a park. So we are limited by what we can actually use the property for, but the actual use of those facilities hasn't been actually decided or designated at this time.
So there's no heat or lights or anything being used in that building at this point?
No, we do have electricity to the building. We do have the heater on during the cold months because we want to ensure that we don't have any type of mold or fungal issues. So yes,
okay,
there's limited utilities.
Thank you.
I have a question regarding the work that you are doing. Maya, is that reimbursed by these grants?
Yeah, there's an administrative portion for all the projects. So the work that myself and the finance department is doing is part of the administrative.
And as a follow-up to Doug Crane's question, given the economic crisis that the federal government is also dealing with, are we absolutely certain that if we go over these original estimates, that they will, in this crisis situation, have the money to reimburse us?
At this point, there hasn't been any indication that they won't. I speak with our project coordinator on a fairly regular basis. They have not indicated anything like that yet. So we'll just keep touching base with them. We are almost done, so I think we're going to be filed and get this over with before hopefully the economic climate gets any worse. So
the list, the construction list and the reimbursement list for projects in the city is pretty amazing. It's pretty long, and we don't have time to go into all these projects, but the more people who can find out about them, the better. It's very significant that we have been reimbursed for all these projects.
And I just want to follow up on that that's due to the departments that were, very, very diligent after the floods to make sure to evaluate all of our city facilities and file those claims. And that's, I think through their due diligence that we had 146 projects that were actually filed and accepted by FEMA. And it's, the work that Maya and the crews that the other, the street department and the police department and fire department and utilities, all the departments worked very diligently to ensure that if there was funding available to repair that burden didn't come back on the local taxpayers, that we were able to access the funds that were available through FEMA and through the feds to bring them and get them fixed.
My memory doesn't serve me. We've already asked for public comment on this. We have not? Is there public comment?
John Graff speaking. as a citizen. I have a question, a couple of questions, Mr. Mayor. One of the questions is how much storm damage was done to the house in the Observatory Park? Do we have a figure, a number on that?
Well, let's ask your questions first, and then we'll see if the council wants the staff to respond.
That's the question I'm asking.
You said you had several questions.
Oh, okay, want all of them. Okay, well, it makes it difficult because the one question leads into the other. So if there was no FEMA damage done to the house, then I'm done asking questions.
Okay, I think we can ask staff to respond at this time.
Yes, there was damage done to the house and the outbuildings on the observatory site. Do you want the dollar amount on the house, or?
Mr. Mayor, I was looking for just the FEMA claim that was put in for the house on the property that had the blue tarps put on and put off it for somewhere around 5 years.
I believe it, well, it looks like the estimate was $27,700.
That's correct.
And my concern with that comes from the standpoint that that was a piece of property that the city knew it needed a roof for many years, and for many years was putting blue tarps on the building rather than replacing the roof. And the blue tarps would deteriorate, which caused a good deal of water damage. And if you know much about water damage, after water damage, you usually get dry rot. And so my concern is that we were actually billing or claiming to FEMA what was legitimately storm damage and not claiming things that were a direct product of neglect by the city of Ukiah.
Thank you very much. Well, I don't know if I should thank you for that.
Can we?
Provide clarification, please?
Yes.
So the roof was not part of the FEMA project. So you can't, deferred maintenance on a property was not an acceptable claim to make, and we didn't even attempt to make that claim with FEMA. So the roof was done using the reserve funds that council has allocated in the Observatory Park Fund and the 699 fund. So the roof was not part of that claim. There was other damage that was caused due to the excessive flooding that occurred in the basement of that property, and that's where the primary amount. We were successful in some of the gutters on the building. Portions of the gutters were covered by FEMA, other portions were not. So we were very careful, and the estimators that come out with FEMA are very careful to delineate between deferred maintenance and what was actually caused by the storm. So the re-roof was not funded using FEMA.
Thank you very much. Further council discussion? Moving on then. Thank you very much. Where's Mark? Moving on to item C, 10C, adopt plans and specifications, 08 through 010, for the construction of Orchard Avenue Bridge, and call for bids of the same.
Good evening. My name is Tim Erickson, City Engineer and Director of Public Works. Tonight we are bringing forward the plans and specifications for the Orchard Avenue Bridge, which has been anticipated by many for some time. We're asking for the approval of those plans and specifications per the QCAC standards for a project estimated over $125,000, and we're asking the council to authorize the staff to go out for bid for this project. The plans have been on file at the planning counter for anybody to review.
And they're obviously too thick to have reproduced for our packets, I take it.
Anything's possible, but yeah, I would say so.
I
move approval.